Hello, this is Xbox Oi, and this is the bonus footage from my time with the Beretta 23R, or B23R if you like. As ever, I'll be taking your questions from the comments on the main video. A bit of a twist this week, I am not taking any questions that include the word stew, or the name stew. It was getting a little bit out of hand, you know, with the stew, this, that. I mentioned it last week, and I think some people realised that I wasn't going to take any questions that started with stew. So anyway, wasting no time, on to the first one. XJepper44 says, Beretta Emblem. Indeed, you're right, yes, I went for the weapon manufacturer logo this week. It's simple enough to do, and it's a pretty nice looking emblem in itself, so there you go. Mr. Hooky Stick says, how are the cats? Oh yes, my two cats, one called Bill, one called Ted. They've made the occasional appearance on the videos here. And Ted actually had major surgery last year after a problem with his hind legs. But it's been a year and a couple of months now since the surgery, and he's as good as ever. He's never going to be as agile as his brother, but he can jump, he can run, he can do all the usual cat-like things. And Bill's doing fine too. I'm hoping maybe this summer to maybe do a video devoted to them. Maybe, we'll see. Flames inquires, do you like 3-round bursts? I don't dislike them, I can certainly rock with them, you know, and the Beretta's not a bad weapon. Although, interestingly enough, if my stats are to be believed, the Beretta is thus far my weakest pistol. I did better with both the TAC-45 and the 5.7, the 5.7 by quite a considerable margin. I actually think the Beretta is a very good backup weapon, but when it comes to using them as primary weapons, I think the versatility, the long-ranged ability, and the larger magazine of the 5.7 really make it shine. The Beretta, it quickly becomes basically useless outside of a close range, which is no good when you're facing enemies that have weapons that aren't useless. Whereas the 5.7 might not be the most powerful weapon, but you can put, quite easily, you can put multiple rounds into a target at a distance and, you know, still kill them reasonably quickly. But it's strange, nobody thinks the 5.7 is that overpowered, everyone thinks it's the weaker pistol, and the Beretta is overpowered, but I think the reverse is true. I don't think the 5.7's overpowered, but it's definitely the favourite of the pistols so far. Of course, we haven't got to the Cap 40 yet, and that's a whole different ballgame. That's a very good gun. Who Dropped the Grenade asks, which football team do you support in the English Premier League? I get questions like this all the time because I live in Manchester. People think that I must either support Manchester City or Manchester United. So quite often I'll see comments about which football team do you support, Man City or Man United. And I've answered these questions in the past before, but I'm going to answer it again, just for the sake of completeness, why not? I don't have a preference between Manchester United and Man City. I'm not a huge football fan. Of all the teams in all the leagues, I have a slight affinity with my hometown, Preston North End. But beyond that, no, I don't really have any attachment. I used to be a Chelsea supporter because they were sponsored by Commodore, and I was a big Commodore fanboy. But these days, I don't really follow the Premier League. I don't really have a preference for any of the teams that play in the Premier League. So there you go. Pickleman5432 says, did you not gold the B23R then? I did, but I decided to stop recording before I gilded it. Basically because I already had hours and hours of footage, I already knew that I had more than enough clips, and really just recording anymore was making more work for me. That was unnecessary. And I was tired, I wasn't playing my best, and I had to do the 150 kills without perks, without attachments, which isn't the best scenario for getting clips. So I was nearly done and I stopped recording, so I didn't actually record any gold gameplay footage. But rest assured, I did go on to get it gold. In fact, I have every single weapon gold so far that I've covered, with one notable exception. Ah yes, the FHJ. We're getting there. I actually did quite a few of the player-controlled challenges. I think I'm now up to 8 out of 10 player-controlled kill streaks, which means I'm just 2 away. All it takes now is a couple of Dragonfires and I'm done. I will have a gold FHJ. Maybe this week, maybe next week, I don't know, we'll see. But soon I'll be done with it. I've just realised I picked 2 from the same guy. XJepper44 again, have you ever drunk a Finnish beer? I have, but only one, yes, which is of course Lapin Kulta, the one I featured on the Drinks Ahoy episode. Outside of that, I haven't had any others, but there aren't that many Finnish beers that make it to the UK, unfortunately. Daniel Crow 411 says, hey Xbox Ahoy, have you ever been to Ireland? And if so, what did you think of it? I actually haven't been to Ireland, but I would like to go. It is my ambition at some point in the next couple of years to go to Dublin and visit the Guinness brewery. Just because, well, I've been digging my stouts recently, and while Guinness isn't the best stout in the world, Contrary to what they might have you believe, it's a pretty good drinkable beer, and it's pretty commonly available. So yeah, at some point I probably will arrange a trip to Dublin, and I'll go and do the whole touristy thing, you know. Mr. Ponester Master says, how much do you really use the recommended class while you record? Well, I do kind of mix it up and evolve with the class whilst I record. But in the case of dual wield, it's actually quite difficult because it's the last attachment unlock. And because I'm prestiging the weapons, I didn't really have that much time available with dual wield. So with the Beretta, a lot of the time I was recording with the single pistol, and quite often I'd have secondary gunfighter on for 2 attachments. But you know, you play around with things and you try and find a niche for the weapon, and you try to evolve like a class concept, and eventually the class concept I came upon, the most fun I had with the weapon was with dual wield and smoke grenades playing domination. It's a really good objective pistol because you can just sort of hop on the point and spray everyone down that tries to take it from you. And I figured, well, I haven't done a dual wield class, I haven't done an objective pistol class, so, well, why not? I mean, it depends on when I come up with the final class. I might have a last-minute change of heart, which, I mean, if I've already recorded the footage, I can't exactly go back and change what I was using. But if I come up with a class, like, you know, whilst I'm recording, then I'll usually make the effort to record for as long as possible with my suggestions. Mr. Rauter85 says, please don't suggest Select Fire next week. Too late, I'm gonna do it. I know Select Fire has been nerfed a couple of times, in fact, but it's still reasonably effective on the FAL, and I've got a pretty solid class concept that was doing the business, as it were, for me, with Select Fire. I figured with the 2 single fire assault rifles, the SMR and the FAL, I was going to go for a marksman class with one, and a select fire class with another. So with the SMR having the longer range, that probably is the more logical choice for a marksman build, so that's what I'll go with that one. So the FAL is probably one of my only real chances to talk about select fire, so that's what I'm going with. Latisan Sklay says, especially with the advent of Dead Island Riptide, what's your opinion of the Dead Island games? Well, I have played Dead Island, and I actually quite liked it. It's kind of one of those bad games that's good. I kind of felt like there was so much wasted potential there. I thought it was going to be like a huge open map, like with the entire island to explore, but it turned out to be a little bit more limited than I was hoping for. And while I think the game started off really strong, I really liked the kind of resort setting. I think it kind of lost its way a little bit by the time you got into the town. And the fact that weapons broke every 5 uses or so was kind of annoying. There was a lot of annoyances in that game, but there was potential there. I don't know how Riptide's going to be, but I don't know. I'll see how it reviews before I pick it up, I think. HighJump620 says, I see that you're using the new camos. Which is your favourite? Personally, I like the Dias de Muertos one, the Sugar Skulls. I actually quite like that one. It's nice and colourful, but it looks pretty good. Marksman Gaming Videos asks, do you smoke or have you ever? Actually, no, never smoked. Not at all. Not once. I do kind of have a vague ambition to take up pipe smoking once I reach retirement age, though. I figure if I go a lifetime without any nicotine or tobacco at all, then maybe towards the twilight years I can afford to indulge a little bit. Well, we'll see. Edge Smash asks, hey Xbox Ahoy, how do you feel about space programs like NASA or the UK Space Agency? Waste of money or valuable investment? Follow-up, would you like to be the first person to play Call of Duty in space? I'm a big fan of investment in space technology, that sort of thing. I love the idea of us exploring the cosmos and colonizing the rest of the universe. I think ultimately we are going to have to escape the cradle of Earth at some point, and space exploration and sort of funding of that means that's the way to do it. I would dearly love to see a man on Mars in my lifetime, and I'd also like to see, you know, the early stages of colonization, maybe a temporary moon base or something, I don't know. It's fascinating though, I love all the pictures Curiosity sending back. As for Call of Duty in space, I'd like to think if I was in space, I'd have more important things to do. Also, think of the lag from space. I'm not playing Black Ops 2 from space with that lag. Mega Video Game Maniac says, if you were asked to choose any weapon to come out for the next DLC, what would that weapon be, and why? I would probably go for the L85, the SA80, the UK rifle, because we haven't really seen it in any Call of Duty game yet. Well, we have seen the L86, which is the light support weapon, but LMGs just aren't as cool as assault rifles, and I'd really like to see the L85. Maybe you could maybe give it like a 50-round drum magazine and make it like the P90 of the assault rifle category to give it a niche. That would work, I think. X1 Jeebus says, Stuart, what's your take on the new microtransactions? Personally, I don't mind so long as they stay as aesthetics only. I don't really mind them. I mean, they are aesthetic only, and I think that's kind of important. If they release, like, stopping power for, like, 1600 Microsoft points, then we might have a problem, but they ain't gonna do that. I think they are kind of silly, and I think a lot of people aren't going to be a fan of them, but they are ultimately pretty harmless. Ultimately, if you don't want to pay for new camos, then, well, you don't have to. Walden1982 says, aiming for the head is not a fruitless endeavour, because this is how you unlock the camos. Yes. Oh, alright, I'm aware of this. But I was really speaking from the context of a typical gunfight. I'm not talking about the metagame. iMoving Target 3 says, when stating magazine capacity, do you determine if it's good, medium or poor based on the class the weapon is in, or in general? Kind of both. I mean, I'm never going to call an LMG with 75 rounds in the magazine poor capacity, because it's not, but it's less good than 100 rounds. So it's more of a fuzzy scale. It is kind of partially based on the class that the weapons are in, but also on a global scale. What I'm basically saying is I fudge it. Timothy Bucklin inquires as to what is the most expensive beer you have ever consumed, and was it worth it? Most expensive beer? Probably Brewdog's Tactical Nuclear Penguin. I think I paid, what was it, £40 for 375ml? But it is a rather special beverage. It's 32% alcohol by volume. Probably not worth the money, to be fair. But nevertheless, that is probably one of the more memorable bottles of beer that I will ever have. So there is that. Griggs 4784-52056 says, will you do a face cam one day? Face cams aren't really my bag. I don't really want to put a little visage of mine up in the corner. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not averse to appearing on camera, but there kind of has to be a good reason. And I really don't want to go down the road of playing games like Slender and pretending to be scared on a little webcam. I just don't want to go that route. However, I would quite like to do like my own sort of chat show. I want to do something called Beverage Guide Live, which would be brilliant. I would definitely appear on camera for that. But I need a studio or a location, and I need a crew. I need all sorts of things for that to happen. So that's, I don't know, that's a distance off. Alright, ex-Fluffy Zach wants to know, how fluffy is your cat? Sufficiently. And I think we've got time for one more. Joe Leslie says, hey Stu, Stew, God damn it, Joe. I went nearly a whole episode without having a question with stewing, and you went and ruined it. Well, I hope you're happy with yourself. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Next week, I probably will take some questions with the word stewing, but you don't have to put it in there. You see, you don't have to have stew in the question. This week, we have the FAL OSW coming up on Friday. On Sunday, we have the Select Fire Attachment Guide. And on Monday, it is April Fool's Day, so I'll have another video for you then. Exciting times. Anyway, thank you for watching, and farewell.